One medium-sized data center consumes electricity and water equal to that of a small township. And this is going to come in poor areas where people are not able to resist. Government of India data shows us 600 million Indians are living in moderate to extreme scarcity. Moderate stress to high stress. That is nearly half your population already living in high stress water areas. In the United States, hundreds of towns have banned data centers. Data centers in India consumed 150 billion liters of water. By 2030, the amount of water will be 300 billion liters. Genocide to journalists, I call it genocide. That is what is coming in the media. What happens when the data center comes to your neighborhood? Have you heard of the job data annotator? This is the only job that's going to be available to PhDs in the next 5-10 years. People asked Grok, what is the RSS? Grok said it is a fascist militia. It is a militarized fascist organization. If you ask Grok or AI about what is the problem in Palestine, they'll give you very different answers. The biggest struggle in the world today is against corporate power. Most people are not looking. The great achievement of the BJP in the last 10 years, they have destroyed the financial ecosystem of the opposition. I'm here to share with you what I think are the new challenges facing us. What are the major challenges and what are the new challenges that are coming, that are around the corner, that we have not yet begun to debate, discuss, we badly need to. Number one, you're going to see in the countryside, because it will come in rural areas and it will come in Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, I think this issue will come in the Delta area. Data centers. Two kinds of data centers. Regular computerized digital data centers and AI data centers. Artificial intelligence data centers. No other instrument in modern industry will consume so much water, land, and electricity. One medium-sized data center consumes electricity and water equal to that of a small township. In fact, not the big ones will consume water and electricity minimum 60 to 80,000 households. And this is going to come in poor areas where people are not able to resist, but primarily it will come where there is water, and it will come in the delta area. It will come there. So this is going to be the giant problem. Let me also give you a few numbers on India's role in world data. India produces 20% of the world's data. But we process only 2 or 3% of the data. It goes outside elsewhere for processing. But the important thing, India produces 20% of the world's data, generates 20% of the world's data. India's population is 18% of the world's population. India's water resources is 4% of the world's water resources. We have 18% of the world's population, 4% of the world's water resources. Already you are seeing what climate change is doing to all of you in water, in rains. Now in Maharashtra, those coming under the southwest monsoon, in Maharashtra and elsewhere, sowing has been delayed by 1.5 months. And some people who in the first, as always, by June 10th, many farmers sowed. Complete loss, total loss. They will now have double the input cost because again they will have to sow. As the El Nino factor becomes worse, as climate change becomes worse, our water issues, remember 18% of the world's population, 4% of world water resources. Your water stress, the government of India says, government of India data shows us 600 million Indians are living in moderate to extreme scarcity. Moderate scarcity to extreme scarcity. Moderate stress to high stress. That is nearly half your population already living in high stress water areas. High stress water areas will be like Pudukkottai and Ramnad. So the very first story I did in my book, Everybody Loves Gujarat, the first story I did in that series was a water story from Pudukkottai. And in 93 I discovered, for the first time for me, others knew about it, the Tannir Adipati, the water lords of Ramnad. Yeah? Water is increasingly being privatized. Backdoor. Private borewell is privatization of water. Okay? So this is, remember the struggles against Coca-Cola, Pepsi, which you had. Plachimada in Kerala, in Rajasthan, in Varanasi. Many struggles were fought, by the way, many of these struggles were fought under left leadership. But I am telling you that the water problem in those struggles is 1/10, not even 10% of what is going to come. Prepare yourselves for that struggle. And why are all these data centers coming to India? I will tell you how much the investment is. Because in the United States, hundreds of towns have banned data centers. In the United States, in California, in Oregon, in Ohio, in New Mexico, many counties have banned data centers and said there can never be a data center here. And you can go on to Google and see the videos of what has happened to the water of ordinary people and farmers and the town's water supply. It has become toxic waste. See, the hyperscale data centers, the large scale ones, they require massive amounts of power, of electricity generation. They require giant plots of land and they require unbelievable quantities of water. Now, on top of that, you bring AI data centers. Apart from these requirements, AI data centers require high-powered chips, high-powered computer chips. Okay, they require very high-powered chips, to perform extremely complex tasks. So, over and above the regular data center, AI data centers need much more powerful chips. Now, much more powerful chips means generating enormous heat. The bigger the chip, the greater the capacity of the chip. Like in your laptop, you'll have 5 fans, right? You have 5 fans in the laptop to cool your computer chip. You'll see in the advertisements for laptop, they will say 7 fans, 5 fans, because that small chip generates so much heat. There are also laptop pads, heat absorption pads, fans. Right? Now those small chips, tiny chips, produce so much heat that you require 5 fans in the computer. Imagine giant hyperscale AI data centers. The AI chips will they will generate enormous heat, and because of that, they will require, the AI center will require large quantities of water for cooling, much more than the regular data center. What they are going to do now is they are going to say, oh, these are ordinary data centers, but leave the option open for later bringing in AI into the same centers. The last year, according to our own official data, data centers in India, there are very few yet, but data centers in India consumed 150 billion liters of water. Up to end of 2025, 150 billion liters. This will double in the next 4 years. Government projection. By 2030, the amount of water will be 300 billion liters of water. Remember, 18% of the world's water, the population, 4% of the world's water. Already, as I said, 600 million Indians live in areas of moderate to extreme water scarcity. Now, the entire water supply, the water supply of entire neighborhoods, entire towns will go. Because that is why the Americans are saying, not in my town. Every hazardous, bad, demanding industry, the West has exported to the third world. Even from cigarettes. The biggest markets of cigarette consumption in the world are India and Asian countries. In the West, they've got all kinds of laws against it. We came 30 years later than them in banning smoking in public places. Our laws are very weak against all these things. You are using drugs, medicines in India, which are banned in many countries in the world, but you can't use it. We are using pesticides in India, which are banned in many other countries of the world. Yeah. Now comes the water issue. Let me tell you the scale of investment so far between now and 2030, between 2026 and 2030. Microsoft has already invested $3 billion in data centers in India, and its projected investment by 2030, another $17.5 billion to be invested. That means Microsoft is accounting for $20.5 billion investment. Amazon has declared $35 billion investment in India in data centers alone. In data centers alone, Amazon has declared $35 billion. And that $35 billion plus Google's $20.5 billion, you can see what we're talking about, $55.5 billion. Google and Meta. Google has investing $15 billion in one sector. The Google's biggest data center outside the United States. The biggest data center built outside the United States, Vizag in Andhra Pradesh. And for that, they have already grabbed a lot of land. Both government, I'm not sure which government released the deal, but I think the land signing MOU was done earlier also. Much of the land, much of the farmers who are being displaced are Dalits. They are weaker, they are less organized. They are the ones who are losing land. Recently, News Laundry, some of you know News Laundry on internet, on the website. They did a small documentary on their YouTube channel was blocked. On this, the documentary is still there on News Laundry website, but their YouTube channel was shut down because they carried this thing on Google. Yeah, and though it's there on their own thing, how much search will Google allow? It will change the algorithm so that nobody sees News Laundry's documentary on the thing. You're going to see massive struggles all over the country, and ordinary poor people, rural people will be fighting against giant corporations. Incidentally, comrades, in the 60s, your struggles were and should be correctly against giant landlords. Corporations are the giant global landlords. See this as an extension of your history and your struggle. The biggest struggle in the world today is against corporate power. Millions of jobs are going to be lost because of what is happening. And when the AI data centers come, no one knows how many jobs will be lost, how many jobs will be retained. See, I'll tell you this, I run a non-profit website called People's Archive of Rural India, which publishes in 15 languages, including Tamil, every day. Okay? Including Tamil, we publish in 15. We are a small group, non-profit, no money. We are getting regularly applications from senior journalists in Times of India, Indian Express. We are getting saying, is there a spot for us? Is there a job for us? AI is destroying those jobs. Their jobs are going with it. So there's going to be a complete pogrom. So I have coined this term, like for when you apply genocide to journalists, I call it journocide. That is what is coming in the media. Even at the beginning of COVID, the Delhi Union of Journalists, led by Comrade S.K. Pandey, filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court. In 15 months of COVID, the major media houses sacked 3,500 journalists and 15,000 non-journalist media workers, cameramen, technicians, all of them. This is coming after Prime Minister Modi declared, for the first time in Indian history, declared media and journalism as an essential service. When something is called an essential service, you cannot sack or retrench. Tomorrow if the whole city is on fire, are you going to retrench 50% of the fire brigade? Tomorrow are you going to lay off government doctors when COVID is raging? So this is the kind of situation that you are facing. It sounds very bad, but I'm saying if we don't face up to the reality, we are not going to meet the challenge. We have to know how bad it is. We have to be honest about how difficult it is. Only then we can fight it. So, the culling of people it is happening in the IT industry. How many tens of thousands of people in the IT industry are the basic coders, etc.? They're all losing their jobs because AI will be doing all of that for them. I think also our challenges should be at another level, at the intellectual level also, because let us discuss for 2 minutes what is AI. And I am going to discuss it using the language of the big corporations. What they describe AI as, I'm going to tell you that, and then we ask questions about it. Artificial intelligence, AI is the effort to gather under one roof, in one basket, all the knowledge, experience, thoughts, ideas of all humanity for millennia. It is the property of all humanity. All the idea, this is the description of the leaders of AI. It is encompassing the knowledge, the thought, experience, action, and ideas of all humanity across millennia, and then we take that and monetize it for a handful of billionaires, one of whom has now become a trillionaire. Elon Musk. Trillionaire means 12 zeros. Trillion. Okay. Now, if it is the product of the work of billions of human beings over thousands of years, how does it become the property of one individual? It has to be publicly owned. That should be one of our struggles. Like we fought on the WTO and the intellectual property rights, you're taking the knowledge and property of the entire human race and 5 people will own it. And don't think that the answers, that AI is an unbiased source of information. Have you heard of the job data annotator? This is the only job that's going to be available to PhDs in the next 5-10 years. They will have to train AI. They will have to train AI in what are the major and important questions. So you know what some of these PhDs training in AI are telling me, what they are telling us? We are being asked to answer questions like, suppose a reader comes to AI and asks, I feel like committing suicide. I'm not joking. There are cases going on in the US federal courts where people have sued Google, have sued Meta, have sued OpenAI because their children have had chats with bots, and the bots have encouraged them to commit suicide. Okay? Huge cases are going on in the United States courts now. So these data annotators are telling us we have to do the job, we're doing it, but they're asking me about drug addiction, they're asking me about committing suicide. What answer do I give? I don't know anything about it. What answer do I give? They have to give some answer. Let me tell you what happened to Elon Musk. He put up this super AI called Grok. It's in your X. It's in your X Twitter. It's in your Twitter feed. Grok is a super AI. What Grok can do, it cannot think independently and create data. It goes from whatever databases there are in the world, it will draw answers and give. I loved Grok in the first month. People asked Grok, what is the RSS? Grok said it is a fascist militia. It is a militarized fascist organization. It said because Grok was drawing from available data. Which database? But if you ask Grok or AI about what is the problem in Palestine, they'll give you very different answers. They will try saying there are faults on both sides, there are problems, there are because they are drawing from available databases. The available databases and data on Palestine, Gaza, these are all Western controlled, Western history. Even in Wikipedia, there is a huge problem when we look at Wikipedia entries. First of all, it is the privileged people who know how to get onto Wikipedia, make the entry, do this. Do you know what it did about India? Have you heard of the Bambri Devi rape case in Rajasthan, where a Dalit woman was raped by 5 upper caste people? The Rajasthan is the most feudal part of this country. Rajasthan and parts of Madhya Pradesh. Rajasthan court ruled that it could not believe that upper caste men would ever touch or have sex with a lower caste woman. They acquitted them. The case to this day, no one has been punished. Now, in Wikipedia, the entry was exactly on these lines. It said they were acquitted because they were innocent, and it is most unlikely, they quoted the judge. So from the available database, some upper class elite has put an entry there on Wikipedia. The other thing about what problem about Wikipedia as a source of knowledge? All of us use Wikipedia, but use your brains also. What happens in Wikipedia type of Western knowledge demands published sources. Okay, it demands published sources, documented sources. Suppose we are writing the history of British colonialism in India. All the published sources of that period are from British government. All the colonial documents are British administration. 80% of available published documentation. Okay. Who will they take? They will not take Theekkathir as a source. They will take Times of India, which was British owned, as a source. Statesman, British owned, as a source. Okay. So that bias comes, class bias, Western bias, all that prejudice comes into the content on Wikipedia. It demands only published sources. Now there are many nations in Africa which have complex and beautiful languages without a script. How will their history reflect in Wikipedia? So the idea of oral history, oral knowledge, these don't count in Wikipedia because its rules are you must produce. It can make thousands of mistakes otherwise also. I used to love my entry in Wikipedia because it gave my age correctly, but it used a photograph of when I was 24. So I was the youngest looking 52-year-old person in the world. I was very sorry when they removed the photograph. Actually, I pointed it out to them and they removed it, but I was very sorry. It made me look so young. Then comes so the point is that our challenge at the intellectual level, activist level, should be to the basis of knowledge itself. Whose knowledge is it? Who generates it? Who owns it? A hell of a lot of traditional knowledge has been incorporated into Western systems with no acknowledgement. There are people who are patenting different forms of yoga. They have patented Bikram yoga. They patent and they have these different forms. Right? But you can't use that yoga without paying them a royalty. Yeah, so you imagine what is happening. The colonization of knowledge is now reaching an extreme stage. Yeah. Your AI centers, let us return to that. Google and Meta are building Google is building this one in Vizag. That is 15 billion. OpenAI and Tata Group are building 100 megawatt capacity uh, to begin with, which will scale to 1 gigawatt of, of information and data. Uh, Adani Group is investing 100 billion US dollars in green energy processed AI ready data center. They will keep it by 2035. Now, two things I want to point out to you, that this total investment comes to, between now and 2030, investment comes to $375 billion. Comrades, do you know how much is $375 billion? It is more than the GDP of 161 countries. Of any one country of 161. Even suppose we take, say, okay, between 26 and 2030 is 5 years. Let us divide 375 by 5. You get 75. $75 billion is greater than the GDP of any one of 114 nations. You're talking about people of enormous financial power. Enormous power. And it's going to be done more and more on the human cost of joblessness, unemployment, and co. So this is where the data centers and water things are concerned. It has to make us relook at the entire issue of water justice within India. And I want to tell all comrades this, that if we don't recognize the caste factor and the gender factor in water, we are doomed. We are doomed. How everyone sitting here, including me, we take for granted the water we are drinking. Comrades, 80% of water collection in this country, 80% of time spent in water collection in this country comes from poor rural women. It comes from poor rural women, the water collection. Poor rural women account for 80% of water collection in the country. Water consumption is the other way around. 60%, 80% of it is being consumed in urban areas. In Chennai, if you look at Rajanamalapuram, Mylapore, check what is the water availability per capita to people living in these colonies and people living to that rehabilitation, what starts with K. Kandagi Nagar. Go and check water availability per capita there. And it's all Dalits and other marginalized communities over there. Go and check this. I'm saying we have to fight for water justice within India, within our society, in order to be able to fight the water loot of the first world. Today, two companies control the world of private water. Veolia and Anglo-Suez. And you know what? This year, they have announced merger. The private water market, they control 60%, two companies. And then now when they merge, they will control 70%. Are we going to be able to fight it? We are not going to be able to fight it if we do not honor the principle of justice within our own communities, within our own societies. And believe me, The role of water in female health is so acutely important, and the very people who collect your water are going to be the worst affected. And a lot of these people are Dalit women and Adivasi women, tribal women, who do that collection, who walk long distances to get the water, the firewood, the fuel, the fodder. Yeah. We need to do that. How much the looting of water takes place within us. Water in India is ruled by 6 transfers and 2 super transfers. The 6 transfers are poor to rich, industry, agriculture to industry, rural to urban, livelihood to luxury. Like, you know that in Keelpok you've got buildings coming up with a swimming pool on every other floor. Plans are made, advertisements are given for this. In Mumbai now there are over 100 buildings where every apartment has its own balcony swimming pool. So you're seeing a major transfer of water from livelihoods to luxury, lifestyles. That is what also you're seeing. But then there is the water export, virtual water export, which means suppose I export 1 million tons of paddy. Only progressive economists count it. Only left economists count this. How much water did 1 million tons of paddy take? That is called virtual water export. It's gone out of the country. Right? Countries like Jordan have passed laws balancing virtual water. The amount of virtual water you export must match the virtual water that you import. Anyway, all these 6, those are 6, but the 2 super transfers are Dalits, Adivasis, caste-based transfer to upper caste areas. I live in an area called Bandra Reclamation in Mumbai. I've lived there for 36 years. I have never had a water cut. Maharashtra has had 109 drought events, they call scarcity, since I was there. Yeah, out of which at least 80 odd would have happened after I came to Mumbai in 1981, October. I've always had 24 hours water. Where does the water come from? The water comes from 5 lakes in the district where CPI-ML has a historic base, Thane and Palghar, the Warli areas where Godavari Parulekar led the Warli revolt, in 40s. Now, the Warlis in their territory, there are 5 or 6 lakes. Vaitarna, Tulsi, Vaishya, that water comes to us. I have 24 hours water. In those villages, you will not find a single house with piped water. Their water are consumption. So the poor to rich, rural to urban transfer is taking place. But the super transfer is Dalits, Adivasis are parting with water, and in villages they are excluded from the wells. Right? And the other super transfer is women transferring water to the rest of society with very little return. So I'll tell you this, the biggest challenge, the single biggest challenge we're going to face, number one is inequality. The nature and level of inequality, I don't even have to tell you about how serious your water problem is. Let me give you from Tamil Nadu. And in this country, every interstate dispute, number one dispute is about water. For Tamil Nadu, with Karnataka, you have the Kaveri waters dispute. With Kerala, you have Mulaperiyar. Karnataka, Kerala, Kabini river dispute. Kerala, Andhra, Almaty. Yeah. Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Ravi Bias sharing, which by the way was one of the most important factors in the Khalistan insurgency, the water sharing of over the rivers. So this is a serious problem. Now we are looking at inequality in India at levels that have been seen before. In 1991, when we started the new economic policies, there was not even $1 billionaire in this country. As of this morning, there are $226 billionaires in India. How do I know? I follow. Have you heard of Forbes? Forbes magazine? Forbes magazine is the Bible, the gospel of global capitalism. They maintain a list, billionaires of the world. They have an update every 24 hours. If there is a major shift, I know that Mr. Adani made $0.5 billion in the last 24 hours. They maintain this on an update. What is the value of these multi-billionaires and now trillionaire? Okay. Now your $226 billionaires, their total wealth is $1.024 trillion. They're almost as wealthy as Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. These $226 billionaires account for 26% of your GDP. This level of inequality, it's never been seen before, not even in British time. In 1939, there were lower levels of income inequality in India than there are now. But it also means that the challenges before the left are there, the opportunities before the left are there in fighting these issues. How we fight them is going to be decided also by the kind of alliances we build, how we respond to the challenge, across caste, across some kinds of classes as well, and completely inclusive of gender issues. Only then will we be able to stand up and challenge this. What happens when the data center comes to your neighborhood? This is what I want you to think about. This is what I want left activists to think about. How are we going to engage with it? How are we going to fight it? How are we going to oppose? The kind of money that comes becomes incredibly difficult. And I'm giving you a full warning. What are the 4 or 5 major things that we are seeing politically in the country? One of the biggest things that we are seeing, one of the biggest political developments in the country, mostly in the last 12 years, but started well in the Congress time with the gentleman from Tamil Nadu, Mr. P. Chidambaram, criminalization of dissent. Criminalization of dissent. People protesting something are made criminals. Do you know the biggest example I wrote about recently in Justice Muralidhar's book on Supreme Court? The biggest mass criminalization of dissent is from Tamil Nadu in the Kudankulam agitation. Yeah? Thousands and thousands of people had FIRs filed, and thousands, you know how that FIR would read? Yeah. SP Uday Kumar, G. Balachandran, and 3,500 others. Hundreds of FIRs. Now, when I'm not naming those hundreds of others, I can drag you in at any time. I'll say you are one of those hundreds. This is the tactic the police have been using for 20-25 years now. In Odisha, in Koraput, I went to the Koraput jail to meet one young chemistry professor. He had been jailed on what charges? Anti-national, all that stuff. One of the charges was theft of a buffalo. I went to the IG of Odisha. He spoke very freely because he was retiring in 5 days. He said, sir, these are all dirty fellows. If we put only serious charges, the judge will throw them out. So we got to have a judicious mix of charges. Something will stick. But in any case, we will be able to see that he has to come to the police station every week. Okay, this is what happened in Kodakulam also. Criminalization of dissent. Your UAPA, you saw the case, you saw the cases against, the one major case against Prabir Purkayastha was kicked out by the High Court 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, the High Court dismissed one major case against Prabir Purkayastha. But as Prabir says, that is only one of the cases. There are many more, and who knows what the Supreme Court will do. The retired IG of Odisha, he would love to be IG today because the judges are not throwing out cases. They are adding to what the government does. We have to face that challenge. Second, in the electoral arena, the SIR is just an example of one more example of institutional capture and destruction. They are doing this with judiciary, they are doing this with bureaucracy, they've done it with the election commission, they are doing it very severely in education. Very severely in education. We have to think about this. Institutional capture and collapse, criminalization of dissent. And not many people realize when we discuss the elections, what went wrong. I believe Prabhakar Parakala is saying, has an argument, he is saying rigging by algorithm, which is very plausible, But I am saying this to you. Most people are not looking. The great achievement of the BJP in the last 10 years, they have destroyed the financial ecosystem of the opposition. People are contesting elections without money. How will you win? You need to buy media space. I went during 2024 elections to a Bastar area, one village, which since elections began has voted only Congress. I go there is not a single Congress poster, not a single banner, not one. I said, what happened? Have you people shifted to saffron? They said, no sir, there is no money. The center, Chhattisgarh, Raipur promised us money and we spent all our own money in the first round of campaign. After that, what happened? Bhupendra Baghel, all those his officers were raided. The chief minister's officers were raided. ED, IT, customs, every kind of agency was used. Do you know in many national parties and many more regional parties, the treasurer of these parties has been in jail for 2 years. NCP, Shiv Sena, major treasury people, the money collectors have been in jail for 1 year. Anil Deshmukh, Nawab Malik of NCP, they spent 2 years in jail. Look at what happened last time in Kerala parliamentary elections. In Thrissur, the Thrissur district CPM's funds are frozen when the election campaigning is declared. How could they fight one film star called Gopi without any money? Their accounts were frozen. This destruction of the financial ecosystem is an incredibly important thing. Criminalization of dissent is an incredibly important thing. institutional capture is an incredibly important thing. There are more factors, but I'm just throwing before you a small bunch of extremely crucial struggles that lie ahead. I'm saying we can take heart from several achievements of the left. We can draw inspiration. Look, all the intelligentsia and intellectuals in the world, the entire media against them, look at what the farmers of India achieved in 2021. They barricaded Delhi for 54 weeks. Did any of your media ever tell you this was the largest democratic, constitutional, peaceful protest in the world in 30 years? Before that, the most famous protest in the world was in United States, Occupy Wall Street. 8,000, 9,000 young people occupied a park in New York and said, we are the 99%, you are the 1%. Wall Street is 1%. We are fighting for justice. A wonderful agitation, I supported it. But in 9 weeks, after 9 weeks, Mayor of New York told New York Police Department, throw them out. In 24 hours, NYPD cleared the park. Modi and Shah said, throw them out. But 2 lakh farmers you could not throw out. They lasted not 9 weeks, they lasted 54 weeks. My point to you, comrades, it's going to be achieved. Those farmers taught us the meaning of the word resistance. Unity and resistance. This is something that you're going to need. But first you have to build alliance and you have to educate people. Much of the education now is going to take place outside the education system. And the whole, I think that, Tamil Nadu, which produces a lot of IT, young people in IT. I am saying this, that I would like to see cooperatives built in that. 5-6 people coming together, building something. You are much more cost effective than the large corporations. Now, your media are so bad. Your word of media is so bad. How many of you here know the impact of what the Trump tariffs were in Tamil Nadu countries? Hundreds of tanning units and leather units were closed. Almost all of them are, that is the Dalit sector of industry. Hindu wrote a piece, hundreds of units shut down in Tamil Nadu. Our media doesn't even inform us of anything, nor will it do it. Now, the Iran war impact, Times of India's oldest columnist, Swaminathan Iyer, wrote last Sunday, India has handled the LPG crisis brilliantly. Do you know how many thousand workers from Bihar working in Chennai and Tamil Nadu have gone back to Bihar? Here in Tambaram, they were earning 1,050 rupees per day in construction. 8 people living in one room, 6 feet by 8. When the LPG got double the price, triple the price, they could not cook on firewood. The landlord said, come on, in this small room, you put firewood, the whole building will go up. So they checked out of the room, they stayed in the construction site. But Tamil Nadu, it's a highly urbanized area, your Tambaram, and where are you going to find firewood every day? Then they went to restaurants. In that site, there were restaurants that were giving you chicken curry rice dinner or lunch, 90 rupees they were buying that. With the LPG crisis, overnight chicken curry rice became 160 rupees. From 90 rupees to 160 rupees. Finally, they gave up and went back to Bihar, Nalanda district. And there they're earning 200 rupees per day working in the fields. And they had come here when they were earning 1000 rupees, 30,000 rupees a month, they were able to pay their installments on debt. Now the debt has doubled. They can never repay their debts. And this is how brilliantly India has handled the LPG crisis. We shifted it onto the poor. You know, there is a village in Maharashtra, called Sangvi, in one of the worst districts of Maharashtra, where the Kisan Sabha has led many struggles. It is Beed district, drought affected district. One village called Sangvi pulled itself out of poverty in the last 8-10 years. How? 3 truck drivers in the village formed a joint company. They formed a company and they bought 4 trucks with containers, truck containers. And they started functioning as an independent company. Less than half the price of the major logistical companies. Then, next step, the major logistics companies started outsourcing work to them. Then, inspired by these 3 men, every youngster in the village took loads. These guys gave guarantees. 80 men in the village population 1456. 18 men in the village, 80, bought trucks and containers, and it was the biggest logistical hub of Marathwada. Okay, suddenly the diesel price crash comes. Diesel price escalation comes. That village owns 400 trucks and containers. More than half are lying stranded across Maharashtra without diesel, without the purchasing of diesel. So, you as activists, you as people on the left, you're going to need your information from your evidence of your eyes, from left-wing journals, from journals that are not corporate owned, from YouTube channels that are not corporate controlled. You're going to have to do this. But these are the challenges. How do you fight criminalization of dissent? Destruction of the financial funding ecosystem? Capture of institutions, education, judiciary, bureaucracy, everything. And who do you do it with? How do you build alliances? How do you build? What is that alliance going to consist of? I leave you with the entire present spate of farmer protests began in 2018 in Maharashtra, when 40,000 of the poorest farmers, Adivasi farmers who don't have footwear, took a march from Nashik to Mumbai, 182 kilometers. They walked in 6 days. They changed the world of farming protest. The 2020 protests that came were very inspired by the Kisan Sabha's march from Nashik to Mumbai. It can be done. People are showing us the possibilities. People are showing us. Why did that agitation in Delhi succeed? It succeeded because half the people who came there were women farmers. They ran the township. Without them, there could have been no success, no struggle. They also managed to create the alliance between farmer and agricultural labor. The biggest agricultural labor unions of Punjab were there. Unite, align, unite, struggle. Those are the challenges before us. If we do those, we can certainly as the farmers have shown us, as the Adivasis have shown us, we can win. Thank you.